Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to give you a quick overview on the week 5. So I think we have made a lot of progress and we're pretty close to the end, so hang in there. We have gone through all the SDLC phases, which really focuses on the aspects of the implementation of an HR system. We're going to focus this time on HR metrics and workforce analytics. And then week 6 will be the final closing of the class, which focuses on the newest trends on HR information systems and how technology is actually disrupting the workplace, which I think is one of the most interesting chapters in the whole class. So what are we doing this week is we're going to focus on workforce analytics, and then we will close the last week with trends, the disruption era of HR technologies, and that will be really the closing of the class. So we're pretty well advanced. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed so far the different aspects of the learning. So workforce analytics, why, right? So we have now we know that we have a different types of HR information systems, and we focus mainly on implementation. So at the end of the day, HR systems by themselves really don't produce a lot of data. So there's a lot of work that has evolved in terms of building capabilities across organizations on really understanding the nature of the characteristics of the workforce, and there is a lot of work that has been developed in traditional HR metrics, which they go along with the data that is produced through the HR systems technologies that we have. So, but why is it that we're evolving into workforce analytics? So there's a lot of things changing in the workplace. There is globalization. There's a lot of changes in the demographics that require a deeper understanding to better manage the human capital. So that's one of the key reasons that you normally will hear from people, that they're really trying to understand where the organization is in terms of capabilities, how these demographics are impacting their ability to hire the right people and have the right talent in the organization. There's also a lot of changes happening given the cultural integration of for the globalization, but also because of the merger of different companies and the implications that it has to actually build culture across the different companies when they are merging. And one key thing that is a big result of the changes in demographics is the talent shortages that we have globally, which is requiring both the business and HR to become a better provider of human capital analytics. And there are many other things that you will see that are related to employee engagement, they are related to productivity, they are related to understanding, where are we from the workforce perspective. So at the end of the day, it's this new practice in human resources. It's a support area that helps the business to better drive strategic decisions in order to make or create organizational effectiveness. So those are just some of the key reasons. I'm sure that when you read the papers, you will see that there's a lot of emphasis on what the CEOs are looking for. And it's an opportunity for HR to become much more strategic to the business. Like I explained, there is a lot of traditional metrics that have existed in the past, and some of them you probably are familiar with them, some others probably you haven't seen. But the point being is that HR metrics has had limitations for a long time, because it's just data. There is no analytics involved. It's just a point of data that happens at one point in time. So if you give annual attrition to a manager, that's it. You're just giving them annual attrition. You're not telling them what's going to happen in the future, or you're not giving them trends on what happened in the previous years, as an example. So, and the biggest limitation is that it is provided after it has happened. So it's not about if given this, given a factor of X, we can predict that there is going to be the X type of attrition going forward. And therefore, we should be acting on reducing attrition on this particular population. I'm just giving you an example, right? So it's a lot of, I guess, the limitations that HR has been dealing with. Then, that's how the resurgence of workforce analytics. So what is it? Workforce analytics is nothing else other than the combination of usage of statistical models and other techniques, correlation, regression models that allowed I guess the organization to analyze data, which then, as a result, allows the leaders to improve the effectiveness of people-related decision-making and human resources and strategy. So what has happened is that we have gone through an evolution of the workforce analytics, and then I prepared this slide because I thought it would be just good for you guys to understand some of the key differences on what we're talking about here. You'll see this also in the material of the book that you're going to be reading this coming week, the chapter on workforce analytics and HR metrics. So workforce analytics has started obviously with the baseline of the HR metrics, which is nothing else other than data and numbers that reflect a descriptive detail about the outcome. So number of hires, right? That's it. It's all you got is that we have 10 hires in the last 3 weeks, or 10 hires in the last month, or etc. Workforce analytics is a statistical analysis that combines data and examines those relationships. So you're not looking into the month, you're looking actually into what happened in the previous months and what kind of hires you were doing. If you were bringing program managers, it brings you the type of category, it brings you the types of salaries, it brings you the type of locations, etc. So the difference with workforce analytics and HR metrics is that it implies a statistical analysis. It implies that there is a higher level of analysis from the data that you have extracted from your HR system, right? So, and what is different is also the management of it. HR data by itself in the past used to be just part of a report, right? Now, really what it is that it really depends, or it is driven by problems that are happening in the organization. In other words, you're not going to give them an attrition rate of X. You could if you want it, right? But at the end of the day, what the organization wants is to focus on solving a specific problem. So let's just say that you have an issue in terms of you have a lack of capability in the organization of program managers, right? And that is coming because one of the biggest aspects of your work is that you provide program management services to other organizations. So the questions here is what is happening, right? What do we have today? What is it that we need in the future? And why is it that we're not there, right? So there's a lot of questions that may come out as a part of solving that problem, right? That you have a lack of capability or program managers across the organization. So if you think about, the concept is that we're migrating to focus on the problem rather than focusing in just looking at the metric alone, right? That's what one of the differences is as well from the management perspective. And, from the mechanics perspective is that it's a statistical analysis. Now, with that said, there is advanced analytics, it's a combination of both. What I would say is that when you think about these last two stages on the evolution of workforce analytics, this is what advanced analytics is, which is basically data mining and predictive analysis. Data mining basically focuses in identifying the patterns that exist within the data, using much more advanced analytics like regression analysis. did a lot of this particular regression analysis or data mining when I did my research, and it really gives you the opportunity to predict, but also help to understand the consequences of particular decisions that the organization may have depending on a specific decisions, right? So it's very, very, advanced information, if you could, that helps the organization to be much more proactive about solving problems in the organization. Now, predictive analytics is it's also, it has different types of tools. So it's not just playing with data that already exists in the system. You can accumulate a lot of data and then data mine all of that data. But predictive analytics is really focuses on the future. It focuses on, if we do X, what's going to happen to Z, right? And if we do Z, can we have are we going to have any type of implications because of, right? So it's really focusing on predicting the future of the organization. So I have seen this used specifically for those organizations where workforce has a big impact. So I used to work for a company that is called CSC, and we used to have a predictive analysis in terms of the attrition of our employees, in which particular capabilities we were having attrition. So capabilities, call it software engineers, application developers, etc. So we were doing an analysis in terms of how fast we were hiring this type particular workforce, how fast we were losing them, and then what it will take for us to improve the fulfilling of these resources by predicting, given the particular past trends, what will be the future for us. And that will help us to identify gaps of the organization, that reasons on why we were being, slow in hiding these particular capabilities, but also reasons on where we could predict some of the pitfalls on the offers rejected, etc., for this particular population. So that gave us an opportunity to say, even if we go to the market and hire and approach 100 candidates, we're only going to get 50 of them. So if we need 100, we really should be looking into 200 offers, to say so, right? Instead of only putting 100 offers in there. I'm just using an example, right? But that's a kind of work that this particular predictive analysis can give you, and many other type of data. I mean, the combination of data that you can use is amazing. So, but that's kind of like the evolution of where we have come from HR metrics to much more advanced predictive analytics. Now, the question is then, where do you actually start, right? So, but it depends. So it depends on the problems that you are trying to solve. So we have been very focused in the past in really having HR dashboards, which is still something that in my view is a valid thing to do. But those are just to say, here's where we are as an organization. Here's what we have seen in the past. And given this is what we're going to see, right? If we continue to go this path in the organization. So I think what is happening in the dashboards is that they're becoming more predictive than actually just giving an update on where we are, right? So, which is actually a really cool thing for HR, for CHROs. At the end of the day, the challenge is that we have to identify the metrics and the analytics that are actually more helpful to the leaders, right? So in the traditional space, normally, HR will actually go to the leader. Will just push information to the leaders and give them some sort of the HR metrics. In this particular case, what we really want to do is have a much more proactive view where you can still push data, but as far as, push information to them, as far as it is analytical data that actually is giving them what they need, right? So one of the biggest reasons why all of this started to happen in terms of analytics is that there is a problem in terms of really the talent in the organization. One of the biggest issues is the managing the recruiting, managing the hiring, promotions, retaining talent, and therefore, you need to have a pretty robust technology that can help you to execute on the operational aspects to solve for this problem, but also you need tools that can help you to actually understand what's the current situation from the workforce perspective. So at the end of the day, organizations are very concerned about building the right competencies with the individuals that can help them to be more profitable and more effective as an organization. So hence, workforce talent management is one of the biggest priorities in the HR agenda. And the organizations need to have the systems, they need to have the programs that can help them. And to do that, they need HR systems, right? So some of the strategic questions that people normally get as far as talent management is, what's our retention? Where are we with our key employees? Do we have the right competencies in the organization? Do we have the right skills, right? How effective is our recruiting and our staffing model? Are we hiring for the right people? Are we looking in the right locations? Do we have them in the right location, right? Are we promoting the right people? And are we compensating to those that are creating the most benefit to the most benefit to the organization? And are we being optimal as far as doing our job candidate research for those specific jobs that are more critical to the organization? And are we looking for the right knowledge and the right experience? Are we finding those employees? As an example, there's some capabilities that organizations may have that they just need to really focus on. So, as an example, I started talking about program managers. So, one of the things is that we wanted to really understand, how fast do we hire them and how fast are we losing them, and how given this information, what's the predictability for us to be able to fulfill the needs of the business, and where and how can we accelerate the hiring of these particular skills. Other things are related to workforce performance, right? Where are we from the performance of the organization? And really a cool tool that I have seen most recently is workforce planning, which is a multi-year planning strategy that connects the dots with the the sales input of the organization, and allows the organization to actually create a framework of, here are the capabilities that, given this particular growth areas of the business, that I will need. And then it does a robust analysis on comparing your current workforce versus what you need for the future. So that comparison gives you some trends of capabilities that you should be looking at. It's a really, really nice tool, by the way. So I guess, it's just a quick summary for you guys to really understand that, we're migrating from traditional metrics to much more sophisticated data analysis and advanced predictive analytics for the workforce. And at the end of the day, there is a big focus on this because of the need to really understand what's happening with our human capital and being more effective overall. The thing that we have to remember as well is that, or which has been some of the pitfalls in the past, is that, it's not because you're pushing too many reports in the organization means that people are looking at them, right? You have to really produce data, like I mentioned, that is being helpful to the managers, is being helpful to the executive team. So bigger is not always better. So we have to focus when implementing workforce management analytics. We have to really focus on the impact of these metrics. HR metrics and analytics is a journey, is not a destination. The reason I say this is because it is changing constantly, and you will read this in the chapter. I mean, even from when the book was written to what we are today, a lot of things have changed. You will do a comparison of the chapter in the book, but also I will give you an article for you guys to read, and you'll see it, that it's just a tremendous changes. The 2018 from where we are is continuously learning. So the organization has to be willing to learn, and not just the HR organization, but actually the broader organization. And one of the things that is linked to this, I guess, aspect of focusing on the things that really matter, or focusing on the right impact, is that we have to avoid the temptation to produce everything aggressively. I would rather advise the organization to focus on 2 or 3 metrics rather than try to solve the world, because that's where you can actually make the bigger impact in the organization. A lot of people ask me, why is it that I don't touch any particular workforce analytics tools? And I will I guess the next a class, I'm going to have access to much more, I guess, technology. But one of the main reasons why we don't do this is because there is just so many of them. Specifically for workforce analytics, you can see that even there is some sort of segmentation of the market where you can just really understand data wrangling. But then there is also visualizations tool, which is business intelligence, that brings a lot of data together. But then there is advanced analytics. So it really depends on what you're looking for. I'll tell you that I have used many of them. ClickView, it's a really good tool. It's a very simple tool that takes your data from your system and then translates all of this data in different aspects of analytics. Tableau is also a great tool. I have also used Statistica as well as the People Analyst. But with that said, everything really depends on what the organization is looking for, right? And what's the capabilities that the organization needs to have, and with what kind of tools, right? So there is a lot of information. A lot of tools out there that can be utilized, but at the end of the day, it's going to be depending on what the needs of the budget of the organization are. So IBM Watson is another one. I will advise that if you wanted to learn a little bit more about workforce analytics, I will totally recommend to go and play with Tableau. You can actually create an account, and it's going to help you to actually play a little bit more with some of the metrics that may be out there, and you can create your own metrics. It's actually really cool. I know we don't have time for you guys to do this, but in the extensive class, when it is a 10-week class, I actually ask all the students to go and open an account with Tableau and do a study, which this particular class you're not going to have. But if you have time, I will totally advise you for you to do that. But if you don't worry about it. But you could just really go out if you have an interest to learn more and create an account in many of these different types of tools that are out there. So the next steps is we obviously have a white paper, and this white paper is due on June the 21st and has a potential value of the 10% of your grade. And the idea again is that you critically analyze the topic, that you write about the topic, that you tell me what you actually think about the topic and give me examples, compare what are the things that you like about the topic that you don't like, and think critically about the different aspects of discussions in the analytics paper. In addition to the chapter, of course. So the Kavanaugh chapter is not that long, but there is some interesting stuff in there. The 2018 analytics also gives you a much more deeper understanding on the metrics, and it also gives you an understanding on the different types of utilization of metrics that are out there. So my expectation is that you will write about both the book as well as the article, and hopefully, this will give you a quick overview on analytics. And I know that is not enough because there's so much to talk about. Actually, there's going to be a class on workforce analytics pretty soon that I'm going to be leading with Reed as well. But we really don't have enough time to go through a lot of these metrics in detail. But at least I'm giving you an overview on the differences between HR data, what metrics are in the past, and how everything has evolved as of today. So with that said, if you guys want any particular interest in any of you to have more access to data analytics, I can give you much more, I guess, the definitions that may be helpful to you. But with that said, one of the aspects of workforce analytics is that you're really not trying to solve for a metric. You're really trying to solve for a problem that exists in the organization. So anyway, I hope this introduction is helpful to you. And if there is any questions, you can always reach out to me. One more time, the paper is due on June the 21st. I'm going to be reviewing these papers over the weekend, and hopefully I will be able to get you input on a Sunday, as I always do. If there's any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Okay? Good luck, and we'll be in touch. Take care.